Okay, ladies, you can wrap up your conversations, finish saying your last statements, and you can come on back and let's chat a little bit.
When I'm ready, I'll call you. Thank you.
Okay, so ladies, I hope you had an opportunity to walk around and talk to people. And this is a really good thing because, like I said, we don't always get to do this. You know, you come to Monday on Sundays, if you come regularly on Sundays. After Monday, we come, we eat with our families, and we go. We don't always get to interact with others. So, this is a great opportunity to do that. And it really warmed my heart to walk around and hear people say, I am resilient, or I am independent, or I am proud to be a woman, because those are things we need to say. And why I say we need to say that because it's important. Sometimes we say, I'm amazing, and we just kind of, it's a half hearted, I'm amazing. But when you really go deeper and you say why you think you're amazing, then it forces you to think about what really makes you amazing. The because is always important. The why is always important. So when we just say, I'm resilient, why are you resilient? And some of these women in here, I know some of you personally. So when you say that to me, I understand. But when you say to a stranger and you say, I am resilient, or I am independent, or I'm confident, what does that really mean? And so you need to hear those words just as much as the other person. We need to take the time to hear the words ourselves just as much as the other person who we're with. So today is about celebrating all of you. And as I said earlier, we appreciate all of you coming out this morning. And we're hoping that, as I said, people will roll in. We have our two speakers. They're running a little bit late this morning, but that's okay. There's a lot that we can do in the time that we're waiting for them. And we do have a wonderful afternoon prepared for everyone. This is a time for you to sit back and honor you. Now, when you had an opportunity to walk around and talk to new people, did anybody hear something that really stood out of their mind? Anybody want to share? Anybody confident like me who wants to share what is something that stood out in your mind about what you heard from the people that you were talking to? Anyone?
Hello, I met Kavita and she said confident. And she's amazing woman. So she is confident because she's a woman. And I told her about Jhansi Ki Rani. Did you ever hear about her? Okay. So she was a queen, born queen. But in English, like East India Company and English were ruling India. So her husband was invalid because of health reasons. So she had a baby, 6 month old, and she took it upon herself that she is going to fight for her country, for her area. She was the queen. So I told her that you are just follow Jhansi Ki Rani because she has a man's name. Her parents were expecting a boy, but then she was born. So Jhansi Ki Rani died for her country and land, and she was still a winner.
Thank you for sharing that story. Let's give her a big round of applause. So there are, and if you take the time to talk to many of the ladies here, because as I said, today we have people from various parts of the world. There are people from various ages. And if you take an opportunity to chat with them, I'm sure every single person in this room has a story about someone that they know, not maybe themselves, but someone they know who truly is a remarkable woman or woman that they've met and who shaped their life or shaped the person that they are. That could be their mother, it could be an aunt, it could be a sister, it could be a friend, it could be a celebrity, a world leader, whatever it may be. But I'm sure every single person in this room has a list of women that they admire and who they see as being a symbol of empowerment. Now, you know, we take the time to talk about these things because as women, as I said, we don't always take the time to focus on ourselves. So I can tell everybody in this room this week probably was doing a lot of different things, whether you're retired, whether you're working, whether you're at home helping out with children, whatever it is your role is, your regular week, Monday to Friday, is dedicated to everybody else but you, whether it's because of your job or your household duties or responsibilities, whatever it may be. So today, I really want everyone to step back and focus only on you and the people in this room. And that's why I said the men are out. Because today, we really want to give everyone the freedom to say what they'd like to say and feel comfortable saying it. Sometimes, our partners or our husbands are here, and the things that we may say to our best friend, we're not going to say to our husband. The things that we say to our sister, we're not going to say to our husband. The things that the conversations you have with your mom, you're not going to have with your husband. So today, we're saying this is the open space, a safe space where you can have those conversations and talk about things. Now, the idea was in the future that we should have husbands, spouses, boyfriends to be a part of this conversation too, because we need to educate them. International Women's Day is also about educating men of the world on how they need to view women and how they need to see them as being as equals in society and not as being lesser than them. So hopefully that is a future conversation that'll come in later on. But for now, I really wanted us to focus on us and who we are and what makes us amazing. So we have a little slide up here that my friend is helping me out with. And if you want to take it back, and you can click for me. So this is about International Women's Day and how it all began. So in 1908, 15,000 women marched to New York for better working conditions and voting rights. In 1909, the first National Women's Day was celebrated in the USA. In 1910, Clara Zetkin proposed an annual Women's Day at the Socialist Women's Conference in Copenhagen. And in 1911, the first International Women's Day was celebrated in Austria, Denmark, Germany, and Switzerland. So it's had a long history. Why March 8th? Russian women protested on March 8th in 1917 for bread and peace, sparking significant political change. And the day was solidified during the 20th century as the official date for International Women's Day. So around the world, internationally, events have happened in different parts of the world that have kind of solidified this day as being the day for International Women's Day. So from movements to global recognition, in 1975, the UN officially recognized International Women's Day. And in 1996, the UN started announcing annual themes, first themes celebrating the past, planning, and for the future. So it has become, as I said, an international day around the world because of various events that have happened globally. Now, for all of us, most of us in this room here who come from various backgrounds, if you think back to when you were a little person, a little girl growing up, And if you looked around at the women in your community, the women who stood out as being very powerful, very strong figures, in a lot of cases were seen as were looked down upon. They weren't always recognized for their powerfulness. They weren't always recognized for their ability to stand up and speak out. As a matter of fact, that was looked down upon in earlier times. You know, if you were a strong woman, you weren't going against, you were going against the grain of what was traditional. Now, in today's society, if you speak up, if you stand up for yourself as a woman, if you advocate for yourself, you're seen as a woman of empowerment. You're seen as a woman who is considered to be powerful, confident and capable. And when you think back to the early times, you know, when you were a young girl and you saw women around you who stood up against the grain, they weren't always were
Testing, testing. Using some volume. It's gonna die. Testing. I want to know how to register for the comments. Testing. But this wasn't working either.
That's it. I have a big mouth anyway, so. But we also want to mention, she wants us to mention that Ram Mandir has its own women's group that existed many, many years ago, pre-COVID, called the Lotus Group. And today we are encouraging all of you to join this group because we're hoping to have more throughout the year, at least four major groups where we can get to.
Um, and then when we do that, we can hopefully come together, bring our ideas together and decide on
What kind of events we'd like to have together. So today is an informative event. And as I said, we are hoping our speakers are running a little bit late. But today is an informative event, but it's an educational event and also a fun event where you get to focus on you. So this day is about mental wellness and your well-being. And as a woman, we don't always take the time to think about our own health, our own medical health, physical health. I have many friends that I talk to on the regular, and you know, we shouldn't have gotten a blood test done, or we should have gotten um, went for that, you know, X-ray or whatever, and life gets busy. We're like, oh no, don't worry about it. So we put our health at the back burner because we're always putting everyone's needs in front of us. So today we wanted to be able to focus on mental health and wellness and our own physical well-being because as women, we are always putting everyone first. So that's part of it. And as well, we also wanted to have an opportunity to enjoy ourselves, to have some fun, to interact. So there's two parts to today. So we're hoping that you will benefit from all of that. And we also are encouraging you to join our Lotus group, which at the end you can register, which is our ladies group, as I said. And we're hoping that we can organize events like this and other events where we can get together more often. Many of us are at different stages in our lives now. Maybe we are, seniors, we're widowers, we're divorced, our children have grown up, or we have little ones still. Wherever you may be in life, you still need to take a break for you. Wherever that stage may be, you may be single, you may be, a student, whatever it may be. As women, we still need to take the time to focus on ourselves. So I'm hoping that today you will do that and you will appreciate it. So I know you've had a chance to walk around and meet somebody new. Today, I also wanted you to take a moment to also recognize maybe someone in your life who you thought was very, very central in terms of embodying empowerment or a very strong woman. Does anybody have an example of someone in their life that they want to share? Of someone who really stood out in their mind, whether in their family, in their community, whatnot, who really represents true strength as a woman. This is a shy group here. Oh, over there. Come on up.
Hello, my name is Seema. And in my entire life, I have seen many women examples that I stood up and said, I want to be one of those. Like one of the, you mentioned about Jhansi Ki Rani. And there's another lady who inspired me a lot. And it had happened, I don't know, 800 years ago or something, called Padmava. And it's a true story that in Rajasthan, where she was born, she knew that in a battle, her husband has been defeated because I think it was Khilji who really wanted to come after her because she was known to be one of the most beautiful women in the world, and he wanted her. And he played all these tricks as a friendship starting out, and then towards the end, he declared a war. And of course, he was wrong. He won. So the minute they knew that her husband has been lost and is going to be coming over, if I'm not wrong, there were 3,000 plus women, including her. Decided to do is called Johar. And what that is, they burn themselves alive. And even today, I haven't been there, but my sister went. They can see some pandit, the pujas and all that, just to calm them down. And like it's, as I said, could be 800, 1,000 years ago. And that places still exist in Rajasthan. And, hearing that she didn't want it to be his wife or whatever he wanted, she decided to kill herself. And among them, there were about 3,000 plus women. So that's when we say that how strong a woman can turn out to be in time to protect herself. Okay, so I just wanted to share.
Thank you so much. So I know, like I said, if I took an opportunity to walk around and talk with each one of you, I'm sure you have an example of someone or many women in your life who really stand out as being strong, powerful, and people that you looked up to. And today I have two young ladies, young women, who are very important people in our community. And first, I'm going to introduce Dr. Sonia Anand. And Dr. Sonia Anand is professor of medicine and epidemiology at McMaster University. And she's the director of the Chenchalani Research Center focused on health, equity research, and is a senior scientist at the Population Health Research Institute. Dr. Anand received a Doctor of Medicine from McMaster in 1992, an internal medicine training at McMaster, and a fellowship with the Royal College of Physicians and Surgeons of Canada in 1996. And she has a very extensive bio, but I want you to hear from her, not just about who she is as a doctor, but as a woman, and of course, such a significant role in our community today. And of course, she is joined by her very amazing sister, and that is the Honorable Anita Anand. And Anita is someone who is very close to us here at the Ram Mandir. She's a PCMP Canadian lawyer. She's the Minister of Transport and Internal Trade since 2024. And I'm sure those of you who are involved in paying attention to the politics of what's happening in our country, her profile is very, very important. And again, being a South Asian woman, both of these sisters have really made us proud in our community. And as sisters, today they're coming to talk to all of us about their roles, not only as a doctor and as a politician, but also as women in this world today, this global world, that we're still being challenged for equality and for gender parity. So today, I'd like to hand the mic over to them. They're a little bit late this morning. They have another engagement to get to, but they promised us to be a part of today's event. And I know we are all looking forward. So let's give them a big round of applause, please. Okay, guys, look here.
Well, thank you very much. I'm Sonia Anand, and it's a great pleasure to be here. And we've come before together, and we like to provide some history of our personal story, and then open it up to you to ask questions thereafter. So although I wanted my sister to start off, as she's my older sister, she asked me to start off, so I will. We'll save the best for last. How about that? And first off, for both of us, our inspiration in everything we do comes from our parents. Both our mom and dad were extremely loving, supportive, and really, as we were growing up, always talked about the importance of doing our duty and serving our community. We would hear that repeatedly. And our parents were both physicians. They trained in the United Kingdom and then went to Africa to work together as a husband and wife team. My father was a general surgeon and our mother was an anesthetist. So they would be operating together. And when they were there, a Canadian surgeon came and told them all about this wonderful country of Canada and said that in the 60s, we need more doctors in Canada. So my father said he went to the library and pulled out a map and looked at Canada. And in spite of his parents telling him it would be far too cold, they did come to Nova Scotia in 1965, where Anita and I were born. And we have an older sister, Gitanjali, and the three of us grew up happily together with our parents in a very small town in Nova Scotia. And in spite of both of our parents being busy all the time, going to the hospital in the middle of the night, we turned out okay, as my mom used to say. She said, by some miracle, you turned out okay. And what we do remember so fondly was the family unit and always hearing from our mom in particular that we could do anything we put our mind to. That don't let anything stop you. Keep going, she would tell us. And I'll leave some other stories for Anita to speak about, but I will say both of my older sisters chose a career in law with physician parents. And you know how it is in Indian families. There was only me left, and my mom said to me, now you must be the doctor. And so luckily I liked science, although I wanted to be a marine biologist growing up in Nova Scotia. I pursued medicine, and it's been an amazing career for me. It's always a way to serve each and every day with patients. And then a large part of what I do is in research. And my research has focused largely on understanding why South Asians, people originally from India, have the highest rate of heart disease in the world. And sometimes that comes as a surprise. And unfortunately, women are not immune from that. We are at risk of heart disease as well. And we've learned a lot. We've learned a lot, and now we can help share that knowledge. And we've started with adult women and moved right down to young babies. And our research largely centered here in Brampton in the region. We recruited 1,000 South Asian moms and their babies. And we've been following them now for over 10 years, and the children are 10 years of age. And through that cohort study, the South Asian Birth Cohort Study, you can look that up. We've published many papers, but it's really helped us understand why South Asians are at risk and why women are at risk. And what we see is diabetes in pregnancy, sometimes called gestational diabetes, is the first sign of high risk. Sometimes that's the first time a woman knows she's at risk. So you drink that sugary solution in your family doctor's office, they say, oh, your sugar is a bit high. That places the woman at risk of future diabetes and heart disease herself, as well as her child. So the offspring at birth, we've done measurements from genetics to body fat. The offspring on day one, we can tell who's at higher risk versus lower risk. And then sometimes people say, well, if you know we're at high risk, there's nothing we can do to stop this diabetes from coming. In fact, there are lots of things we can do by modifying our lifestyle and embracing something I like to call healthy, active living. A lot of physical activity and whole foods prepared at home, not too much carbohydrate, which would be lower on the rice, lower on the roti, lower on the sweets. With all of these ways we can actually help children lead a healthy life. And the research we're doing continues to help make some of those advances, but you as women and leaders in your family and in the community can pass on that wisdom and share that wisdom. Because it's very difficult to kind of stay healthy in today's environment when you see McDonald's and pizza and all the temptations as we drive. Tim Hortons, yes. Once I'll just recall giving a talk at Vishnu Mandir with other Dr. Dubey. And I brought my 4-year-old daughter at the time and I said, one thing, just avoid Tim Hortons. And then she stood up and said, Mommy, we go to Tim Hortons. And then all of my credibility in that moment had to climb. But we know what is right. It's just hard to do day after day. But remember that if we stay healthy as women, our families usually stay healthy because we prepare most of the time the meals. And we are the center of the household. And one of our studies here in this region is called Women as the Center of Change, the change agent. So if women know all about the right health advice, they pass it on to their children and family. And finally, before I get over to my sister, and then we can open it up for other questions, we do know that women put themselves last in the family. So we're the smartest, let me say, in this very safe audience. We have a lot of knowledge. We take care of every single person in our family first before ourselves. And we actually quantified this when we looked at the time it takes South Asian women from the onset of chest pain, which is a sign of a heart attack, to get to the hospital was double that of men. And when we pursued that further, they said, well, I felt the pain most of the day, but I had to prepare the evening meal and I had to make sure the kids were doing their homework. And then only when I sat down, I thought, perhaps I should go. And we know in cardiology, time is a muscle. The faster you get into the hospital after you have chest symptoms, neck symptoms, arm symptoms, the greater chance you'll have of preventing a significant heart attack. So that is a message for all of you to make sure that you consider your own health. And if you're not feeling well, go in to see your doctor. I think that's very important because you need to stay healthy to keep your family healthy. So with that, I'm very honored to be on the stage with my sister, who was of the 3 sisters, always the go-getter, the most gregarious of the 3. Our eldest sister is a lawyer. She's like a lawyer almost all the time, logical, studious, and quieter. Then along comes the middle child, who, as middle childs do, they push the boundaries a bit. And as our mother was in her last weeks of life, she passed away of breast cancer in 2014. She spoke to us. We were there by her side, but she did say to my sister Anita, you should go for it. Go for public office. She knew that she had all the right characteristics, smart and gregarious and kind and loves a crowd. So with that, I'm really honored to be here and to make this special introduction of my big sister, the Honorable Anita Anand.
Well, I can honestly say I've never had an introduction like that before. All the personal details. Namaste. Happy International Women's Day. And I'm so happy to be here with Sonia. Of course, when we're asked to do events together, we both usually say yes, because we want to spend time together. So thank you to Pandit Rupnath and condolences on the passing of his eldest sister. And thank you to his daughters, and in particular the twins, for helping us get here today and taking care of so many of the logistics. And in fact, to all of the organizers, it's wonderful to see an International Women's Day celebration and event at a temple. When we grew up in Nova Scotia, rural Nova Scotia, there were no temples, no mandir. We had pujas at our own house or at someone else's house. But to actually see people celebrating International Women's Day, which also didn't exist when we were little, it's just wonderful and to be here in the temple. We were missing Panditji and really hoping he will be okay and his family as well. So I just wanted to pick up where Sonia left off. The whole idea about celebrating women really takes us back to our roots and the women who inspired us, the women who raised us, the women who made sure that we could go and do all the things in our lives. And in a way, when you're young, you don't really realize how much your mother and your sisters in particular are doing for you to enable you to succeed. And it's only now, really, or at least after you have your own kids, that you say, that must have been really hard. And so that must have been hard for my mom and dad to come as newcomers to Canada, to a country that they had never been to before, and raise a young family without any family support. But what that meant, as Sonia said, is that we are very close knit family. And by close, I mean, nobody talked about family time. Nobody was worried about spending time with the family. It was really just making sure we were okay and we felt loved and we had food to eat. We're doing our homework, of course. That was the most important thing. But we really grew up together. We were together for our entire childhood, and then we lived together in university too. And so being together here today is really special for us. Now, just in terms of over the last 5 years or so, and like the first time I came to Ram Mandir here for a conference with Panditji, I was not in politics. And I was a law professor at the University of Toronto, and we came a few times to talk about the legal profession with my older sister and Justice Ray, Sheila Ray. And then so in 2019, the Liberal Party asked me to run for office. And I initially didn't want to, even though my mother had told me I should. I was not interested in doing it because it's so public. You know, you're on TV and you're being interviewed and people really care about your personal life. I have 4 children. Sonia has 3 children. We just generally are very protective, as I'm sure all of you are, about your family and your family unit. So when I ultimately decided to run for office, I had wished my mother was there because she was the one, even to her dying day, who said, you have to keep going. You have to keep going. And don't worry, you will make it. She said this to us our whole lives about everything we did. And lots of times as kids do, my own kids do, you know, you roll your eyes at your mom and you're like, I don't know what she's talking about. But in the end, what she was messaging to us was she was empowering us. She was giving us the confidence to go ahead. And that's really our job for not just our children, but for the younger generations. So for the younger generations who want to go into public life, I would just say you should try because it is possible to get elected in this country and it is possible to make a difference. Many people told me, Anita, you're a good candidate, but Oakville's never elected an Indian woman to be their member of parliament. So you should be prepared to lose because it's not looking good for you. And in fact, one of my opponents in the nomination did a survey. I don't know who he surveyed. She's an expert in this type of stuff. I should have asked her. So he surveyed people who they all agreed that I would not win in the general election. And then he put that survey on all of the doors in the nomination race, so that when I would go to the door and knock on the door, the first thing the person would have is the survey that said you won't get elected. So I had to double overcome not having the experience in office and also this survey that had been put out. All of that to say that they were dark days. I didn't want to continue. And lots of times your kids or people around you will say, I can't go on. This is not for me. This is too hard. And in those moments, especially on International Women's Day, we have to remember that's where we come in. That's where we come in and say, you can do it. We are here to support you. What do you need from us? How can I help you? And I had those women. I had my sisters. I had friends in the community, lots of families who said, we will be there for you. We will support you. And then I was elected and led the country in vaccine procurement, became the Minister of National Defense during the first years of the illegal war in Ukraine by Russia, and then managed the Treasury Board, and now leading internal trade and transport. All of that to say, not that, you know, our parents never wanted us to talk about our accomplishments and being proud. I'm not trying to do that. I'm just saying it is possible with the help of everyone in your life, especially your women mentors, for you to succeed. And it's our obligation, our moral obligation, to help in some way, in any way we can. And the last thing I'll just say before we have questions is our mother was a doctor, also, as Sonia said, would always slip a chocolate bar in our knapsacks or our purse on the way out the door. Even though everybody was saying chocolate's bad for you, too much sugar, etc., my mom always believed that you needed something to keep you going. And so we always found a Kit Kat or a Jersey Milk in our bags when we were going to play sports or for Sonia's cross-country ski meets. All that to say, a mother's love takes many forms. And I'm sure that that's exactly the case for you as it is for us with our children. Thank you.
So I wonder if there are microphones, or is that possible for others to ask questions? And while we're figuring that out, I think a lot of what Anita spoke to, and a lot of, you know, our growing up in a small town with two working parents. And I'm getting some orders here. Was my mother would always say, it takes a village. And I truly believe that it was the case for us in our small village in Nova Scotia, but in each one of our careers, the village was important for me in research, in medical science, running large studies. I have relied on the support of so many partners in the community. Pundit G is one of them. All of the temples in the GTA have helped in our research studies of South Asians. And I think now when we are supporting the young people of today, we need to pass on our wisdom. So I wanted to add to what Anita said, but it takes a village, and we're key members of that village. So with that, maybe we can invite any questions. You can.
We can have mics, we have mics here.
Thanks, Dr. Sonia. Enjoyed your talk very much. I had a question about women going late for their angina. But once they reach hospital, they get misdiagnosed within the gestal belt. So women don't get the same criteria as the men do.
Thanks, that's a great point. But now there's an increased awareness about women and heart disease. I'm one of the national board members of the Heart and Stroke Foundation of Canada. And every February, we have a special concentration on a theme, and that's women's heart health. So I think the message is at the ERs and the family doctors now that the leading cause of death amongst women in Canada, including South Asian women, is heart disease. And even if you say you have a pain in your throat or a twinge in your left arm or indigestion, check the heart enzymes. So I think the message is out there, but a lot of that came from the way we were trained in medical school. With the pictures in our textbook were always men clutching their chests on their way to work with a briefcase. And so for women, for years, we were told it's your nerves or it's indigestion, and then we miss diagnosis. But I think we're past that now in Canada. Thank goodness. Other questions?
Hi, my name is Saguna. I am a public servant, and this question is for Ms. Honorable Andan. Could you, I know you spoke about the challenges of being, as a woman in politics. Could you actually share some of the memories and highlights that you had as a career in politics as a woman?
There's a little bit of that. Oh, challenges in politics? Well, how long do we have here?
I mean, you did talk about like some of the challenges as a woman when
Oh,
you got into
some-
politics, but why did you share some of your memories or, highlights of being a woman in
Okay,
politics?
so that's really great question, because you're right that while there were challenges, the reason why I ran for office under Prime Minister Trudeau is because he actually had a gender diverse cabinet. He actually seemed to care about some of the things I cared about, which was making sure we have more representation in our public institutions. And so I was the first Hindu woman MP and the first Hindu cabinet minister in the history of our country because of him, that he encouraged me to run and welcomed me into those roles. So even though there are a lot of people now who say, criticism of the prime minister, I say to myself, I ran because I saw an opportunity to live up to the values that I think we all should share, which is we're here in this country, we're Canadians, we need to be in the houses of parliament, and we need to be in leadership positions in universities, as Sonia is, in hospitals and in public and private corporations. There is a role for us. And so that is kind of the basic foundation. But then when I got actually into the rooms, in the cabinet room, I saw women who looked like me around the table. I saw Bardish. I saw Marcy Ian. I saw people who really represented their own communities. And we had a common understanding. We saw each other for what we were. And together we were and are a powerful force. So I will say that the memories are very positive. I did recently decide to run again in the next election. The next election is probably around the corner. And part of the reason I decided to continue is that I received thousands of letters and emails and texts and calls over the past few months saying, we're the silent majority who see what you're doing. We want you to continue because it means something to our community to see you being our representative there. And so I'll just say it's a real honor and privilege. And also thank you for being a public servant, because you are the unsung heroes, really. You got us through a lot of tough times, including the pandemic. So thank you for all you do for the government of Canada and our country.
Hi, my name is Samira Sharma, and I have worked with the RBC for 27 years. My question is for Anita Ji. Right now, we have a burning issue of Mr. Trump is putting all the tariffs on Canada. See, there is a movement going on. There is a movement going on, and we think the Gandhism is still alive. And how do you address the women of Ontario, Canada, to stand for the financial right and support Canada? I don't think you have, this is a very burning question. And I don't know how many people are aware to boycott, what should be boycotting, and how should we make Canada empowered as a female role? Thank you for your.
You're exactly right. You're 100% right. We have this threat from the United States of 25% tariffs, which went into effect on March 4th. And then the government of Canada responded on March 4th at 12:01 with counter tariff measures in the amount of about $30 billion. And we're going to follow up with $125 billion more counter tariffs in response, in retaliation. But tariffs aren't good for anybody. They raise prices, they raise unemployment, they lower productivity, and they create more expensive lives for citizens. So your question about what we can do as women is quite powerful, but it applies to the population at large. And that is, now is the time to look to Canada, to support Canada, to buy Canadian products, to hire Canadian workers, to travel for your holidays within Canada, and to support this country and this country's businesses, so that we can lessen our reliance on the United States and we can grow the Canadian economy. And that should be the case regardless of April 2nd or next week, because essentially every day there is a different message coming from the White House. So our strategy should be very pointed towards the Canadian economy, and that's what I've been working on as the Minister of Internal Trade, growing this economy, making sure we're adding $200 billion back to the Canadian economy by reducing the barriers between provinces and territories. The work we could do as women then is to, as leaders of our families, as Sonia said, women play such a large role in the family unit, is to send that message, whoever is buying the groceries, buy Canadian. Whoever is buying the household products, buy Canadian. And bit by bit, we will lessen that 80% reliance on the US economy. We will diversify supply chains and we'll grow our Canadian economy. And the last thing I'll say is we need to strengthen our relationship with countries overseas. Strong, straight trading partners, including India. India is a powerhouse, an economic powerhouse in the Indo-Pacific. We need to grow our supply chains with countries around the world where we can bilaterally enhance our trade and lessen our dependence on the United States. So that's something I'm really working on in the government of Canada, but that's an excellent question, especially today. We're not even very far into the Trump presidency, but we have to make sure we have our elbows up at all times. Thank you.
I think we're coming to the end. If there's one more question, we'll take one more question. If not, we'll move on. Is there another question in the audience? Here.
My question is for, sorry, both of you. How has your Hindu faith helped you in your day-to-day career paths?
Oh, thank you very much. Both of our parents were very spiritually oriented. And in fact, my father and my grandfather on my father's side was one of Mahatma Gandhi's disciples and marched in the salt marches with him and went to jail with him and accompanied Gandhiji to London to attend the Round Table Conference where India was negotiating its freedom. And when my father was a young boy, he would walk Gandhiji around their neighborhood, and my father's name was Vivekanand, and he would say, "You have a lot to live up to. You have a very important name and a lot to live up to." So I say all that because that's part of, what we would hear at home. But from my mother's perspective, she was a medical student in Dublin, Ireland, and my father went there to give a talk about Gandhiji. And she thought at the last minute, okay, I'll go. She put her sari on, listened, and then they spoke afterwards. And she thought, he passed a surgery exams, his family knows Gandhiji, I'm going to marry him. So that's part of what brought them together. But together in our household, the Bhagavad Gita was our sacred book. And we would, as Anita said, there were no formal temples, but we would read that with both our mother and father. And our father spoke Sanskrit. And at the end of my mother's life, her favorite chapter was chapter 13. And my father would recite that to her. And it was, in the end of our lives, the Lord says, "Come to me, Lord Krishna, and I will take care of you, and all your sins will go away. Be of good cheer." And my mother's influence was really around chapter 2, or Karma Yoga, the importance of work and doing good through your work. And with our father, who passed away just in 2022, he did get to see Anita rise to her heights in politics. We would recite with him the Sanskrit versions of chapter 2. And again, everything focused on doing your duty and not worrying about the outcome, but doing your duty for duty's sake. So I would say that the Bhagavad Gita is central to our everyday lives.
So that's exactly a summary of the type of thing that I would say also if we were together, because it does represent the message that we were raised with. I'll say that our mother, she worked full time, but she was so concerned to make sure that we remembered our Hindu faith. That reading the Bhagavad Gita was a way that she knew that we were at least reading the words, and over time we came to understand more about what the Gita stood for. And as Sonia said, chapter 2 was a chapter that we would focus on a lot when we were growing up. Mom would make us memorize passages, and even when I had sleepovers, with my Canadian friends or non-Indo-Canadian friends, they would all have to listen to the Bhagavad Gita too. So I'll just say, when you're a teenager, that is somewhat awkward, but that was our mom. She wanted to make sure that we remembered always the importance of Hinduism in our lives. And the key point that Sonia said that really drove our whole family and everything we did was work hard. That is a way to reach God. If you have in the Bhagavad Gita in chapter 2, and throughout, there's this messaging that there are various ways to reach God: through prayer, through work, through service. Our family chose work and service. That they, as physicians, they saw themselves that service as being holy service. And so that is how Hinduism really underpins us, our everyday. In the hard times in vaccine procurement, there were days when we didn't know if we'd get those vaccines. And I really felt the pressure of the country on my shoulders as we all worried about getting those vaccines. How was I going to do it? Ultimately, we were the most vaccinated country in the world in 2021, July. But there were very hard weeks there. On those days, I slept with a butt because I was so worried. And that is a practice our mother actually had as well.
Yeah, and I might just end with one of our favorite Tagore, the Rabindranath Tagore's quotes that really speak to this notion. We can say it together, but I slept and dreamt life was joy. I awoke and saw life was service. I acted and behold, service was joy. So we'll leave you with that, and thank you so much for this opportunity to share our perspectives with you and celebrate International Women's Day together. Thank you again.
Oh, we can give you. Did you use the one? Thank you, thank you. First of all, ladies and gentlemen,
Ladies, and let's give a big round of applause to our very honorable speakers today, Dr. Sonia Anand and Minister Anita Anand. And I know Minister Anita Anand wasn't sure she was going to be here this morning, so we're so happy that she could make it out. And today it's really not about who they are in terms of their profile and their role in our community. It's they're women who, as both of them said, they have decided to do things that are of service, our karma yogis. And that is a true example of all women, really. We're all karma yogis. And today on International Women's Day, I'm so proud and so honored that they were able to come and share with us, not just about who they are as world leaders, because they truly are in our community, but as women and how they've been shaped by the important women in their lives, and then who now they, as very important women, are helping to shape women around the world. And I hope that all of you truly feel as blessed as I do to have had them here today to really support us in celebrating women and the beauty and the power of Women's Day. So let's give these two beautiful ladies a big round of applause. And we want to take a minute, Shivana would like to just appreciate them with two beautiful flowers. As we know, women continue to grow, they continue to change, and they continue to bring beauty to the world. And so today we'd like to honor these two lovely ladies. Let's give them a big round of applause. Thank you so much, ladies. Thank you. Okay, ladies, at this point in time, we are now getting ready for our next event. Shivana.
so get your volunteers to come and help and clear out these chairs here, okay?
Okay, so ladies, our next event is a little bit more interactive. I hope that you appreciated this portion of our morning. So what we're gonna do is we're actually gonna get everyone who's sitting in this section, we're gonna get you to stand. You can go sit at the tables for now. We're gonna move these chairs out because we need the space. And then we're gonna be getting ready for our next activity.
Just doing a little bit. See.
And if our volunteers are here, we need some help moving out these chairs.
Dad, he was great, really, yeah. He was very, yeah, of course.
All right. Minister Anand and Dr. Anand, if you can come in and up here, be able to take a picture with all of us if you don't mind. Okay, That way we can get a picture with everyone. So ladies, coming up here, we'll take a picture with everyone up here.
Somebody stand here, just take the whole.
Yeah,
Such, yeah, if they can stand in the middle.
okay, come on over here, ladies. Ladies, coming over here, we're gonna take a big picture with everyone. And we'll get, Ms. Shannon and Dr. Shannon to come and stand over here with us, so we can take a big picture. Okay, everyone, Dr. G and Ms. Shannon, you guys should go up there. I mean, we'll, you sure?
Some of you can go up as well if you like. You can take a second.
Down here, okay, that makes sense.
Hey, come behind them, let them be in the front, everybody come behind them, perfect, right? Turn around.
I was told that you're gonna face.
Yeah, we're gonna face that way. Just have one this way.
So we have between one to. I'll just take this. So I can see. You can go up as well. You can do that. There's up as well. So I think you can go up. Because I can see you. Yes. Yes. You too, yes.
Justin, come on.
International Women's Day.
So I take one, please.
I'll send it to my picture. Okay. Okay. Wonderful.
And I take a video, right?
Oh. What do we do on the camera?